right, we are rolling. The one app I use most is an app called Polar, which is right here. I also use Snapseed sometimes, and Visco as well. I've also dabbled in using RAW made by 500px. It's pretty good, but today we're just gonna use Polar. Open it up. I have 6 pictures down here I selected. So right off the bat, here's the layout of the app. Super simple, super easy. So we'll just start from the beginning here. Here's the layout. Your base colors, which is like tint and temperature and all that, saturation, etc. You have your light stuff, which is all that stuff right there, pretty self-explanatory. Detail like clarity and sharpen, vignette stuff. One thing that this app has, I can't really find many apps that have it, is the HSL tab, which is hue, saturation, and luminance. Super awesome, we'll delve into that in a bit. We have the curves, and we have RGB channels, which is great. And we also have split toning, which a lot of other apps don't have. Other stuff in here like grain and whatever, distortion. This app is free, by the way, too, and this is not a promotioning for this app. This is strictly how I edit my iPhone photos. In no way am I promoting Polar off a paid endorsement or anything like that. So this is all just how I edit my iPhone photos, because that's what we're doing today. So we'll start off, we'll come into exposure, pop it up a little bit. I usually shoot my photos overexposed, so we'll start a little brighter. It's harder to shoot overexposed in the iPhone, because if you've ever tried to shoot overexposed in the iPhone, it's obvious why I say that. So come in here, adjust a little warmth in there, and maybe a little pink in there too, as it's pretty green. Somewhere like that. So if you hold down in the center or somewhere in the photo, you can see before and after. So before I go into too crazy stuff, we'll just come in here. We already exposed it up a little, and I'll come in and add just a touch of contrast in there, just for the start and base of it, so it's already looking fine. First things first, one thing I love about this app is the gradient filter stuff. So you have radial masks and gradient masks. So in simple, I'll just show you what it does. So this part right here is gonna be affected when it's right here. And so you see how, you kind of get the gist of it. See how the ground doesn't change, but the sky does. So that's what gradient filters do. It just affects a portion of the image, which is super handy. So we'll first flip it around, take it down here. We'll darken this a little bit. Cool. And then we'll come in and add one more for the sky. Don't want it to do too much affecting on the hut, so we'll just pop it up just a little. Yeah, it's fine. Come back to the adjustment menu. We'll go into here, take the shadows down just a little, bring up the whites a little bit, just create like a nice contrast between the two, but nothing too crazy. Maybe bring the whites down a little more. I do this all by eye, so it's not really like a certain, like, I don't have some sort of method. Like, if it looks good, it's probably good. And I always will go back and forth between things. Like, I'm gonna come back in here and take down the exposure in the sky just a tad from the gradient filter we put on previously. That's a very good starting base. We haven't done anything color-wise yet, and it's already looking pretty solid. Yeah, so let's jump into coloring it. First things first is curves are super essential. And my biggest complaint about this app probably has to be the black background. Most everything on the web is like white background today, especially when it comes to photography and stuff. Instagram is white background. Most websites are white background. It's just a very clean, good look. So biggest complaint about this app is the black background, because it makes a significant difference when you're editing on a black background versus a white background. Like right now, this looks good to me. I'll probably save it and look at it on a white background and be like, dang, like I really clipped my whites. Dang, my shadows are really dark. And I'll probably like bump it up to here where it doesn't look too great against the black background. So note that. We'll go ahead and bump it up a little then in that case. So yeah, come in here to the curves. I usually will clip the blacks a bit, and I'll take the highlights down just a tad, so it doesn't blend with the white background that my photo will be going on. You have to consider that stuff as you go. Come down, add a little contrast right there in the shadows. Maybe bring that up a little more. Like, I just literally tweak things until it kind of looks good in the curves. You can kind of see what curves does. It's a very, very powerful tool. Yeah, so something like that, like very simple. So you can also come up here and see like your history up here. So that was before the curves activated, and that is with the curves done. So neat. Come back in here. I'm gonna bump up the white just a little bit. Cool. Yeah, so this is before, this is after. I think I actually might take the highlights and whites down a little bit because looking at the before and after, I really like the detail in the clouds right there. So having something in there, so that's cool. We'll come into the red curves. So I can pretty much just show you simply what these do. So if I push red higher, it'll make the image more red. Lower, it'll be more blue, which is the opposite of this color. So it works in opposites. Really, really helpful to get toning. Green is green, and then purple. And then blue is blue, and then yellow. So those, you can really get way too nitty gritty with curves. You can easily overdo it, so just be careful when you delve into these. But I usually will have a little bit of red in my shadows and a little tad bit of blue in my highlights. And from there, like, I'm pretty much satisfied with that. Just very, very minor changes. So that's even too major. Bring that up just a bit. Maybe push the red a little harder. Yeah, it's fine. So before the red curve was activated, it was right here. And that's with it super, super subtle, almost like too subtle. Maybe come in and mess with the blue, get a bit of yellow in the shadows, and maybe a little blue in the highlights. So that's with all these curves. That's white before. Yeah, it's like so subtle. Like, it's almost not even like worth doing, but you can go crazy as you want with those curves. Maybe, I mean, let's just mess around with it. Let's add a little purple in there, and maybe a little purple in the shadows too. So now you'll probably see much more of a difference as we go. Hold on, let me get out of there. So there's without all the curves. That's with all the curves. So you can see the toning in there. Looks clean. Yeah, and this is all also available in Lightroom too, and like on the desktop. So you can, like, I literally can produce the same stuff on this app if I was to edit an iPhone photo that I could do in Lightroom, because it's like that comprehensive. Really, the only thing it doesn't have that Lightroom has is white background, number one. Number two, they don't have like a spot healing tool, which, I mean, you can just like X out of here, go right into Snapseed and do that. So yeah, so now I'm looking at it, and I actually like it a lot right now. I probably won't want to do too much more to it, but I'll just show you what else we have in here for this photo. We have the HSL panel here, which stands for Hue, Saturation, Luminance. I mean, you can just like see what it does right off the bat. That's not a good example at all. Take it on the red, like just look at the HUT. See how the HUT changes complete color right there? So what it does is it targets the reds if you're on red. We'll just pop the saturation of that HUT quite a bit, make it pop out a lot. Yeah, like right there or something, pops that HUT right out. And then like yellow, for instance, you can see it's affecting the ground a lot. Yeah, so we'll do that, maybe add a little saturation to the yellow, come to the green hue and see, there's not really much green in this photo. It looks like green right there, but the computer will read it as more so yellow, so that's why you see that getting all affected rather than the green, even though you would say, oh yeah, that's green, then orange. So yeah, most of the ground is just yellow and orange, it looks like, at least the computer thinks that, which, yeah, so maybe make the ground a little orange just to add a little more color, pop the luminance up. There we go. So that's that photo. I'll come over here, save it as a copy so you don't overwrite your original photo. And for some reason it couldn't save photo, but no worries, because if you close out a Polar and everything else I have open, you can go back into it. And the best part about this app is it's all saved right there. So your entire edit's saved. This app does have some bugs at the moment, like for instance, it couldn't save the photo, and now the photo's saved. So has random little bugs here and there. It's kind of a bummer. So here are the photos here. This is the before one, this is the after one. Yeah, so I'll just run through it. So I was editing on a black background in the app, which makes it hard to really judge where your white's at. If I were to redo it, I might darken the shadows a little and probably just bring down the overall exposure in general. Looking at it here too, I feel like this is a little off-centered. I would just bring that in a little more. If I really wanted to get nitty-gritty with it, I'd take it into Snapseed and like spot these out, like these little, just all those little white dots and stuff that are obnoxious. And I'd also try to get this outhouse out of there too. Overall, I'm pretty stoked with this image. Came out very nice for an iPhone image. So I'll have a few more videos coming out for you guys this week. This is just one of the photos I have. I think I have 3 or 4 other ones lined up with videos on how to edit them and stuff like that. So